Hey Tony, I'm Kaitlyn Zischke and I am in the health sciences stream. So I'm trying to get, well, not trying to, I am going to be doing occupational therapy next year. I got into Southern Cross University for March next year, which is really exciting. So I am actually, once I finish anatomy and physiology and psychology this trimester, I'm actually withdrawing from the diploma so I can pursue occupational therapy. And that is essentially my future goal. I want to be able to say that I finished university and I got a degree and that I have a fulfilling career and I can do all the things I want to do in life outside of work also. You know, it's hard to do the things that you want to do, like travel, buy a house, you know, spend time with family, friends, and all of that stuff without finances. And to feel, I want to feel fulfilled in my career, but I also want to be fulfilled in life. So I feel as though I can get the best of both worlds through occupational therapy, as it just seems like it's going to be so rewarding. It's such a diverse industry. You can work across the lifespan, so you have so much choice and opportunity, and to get to have a positive impact on people's lives, however that looks, is really exciting. I've had a little bit of experience in my life with that, getting to positively impact, especially young people with disabilities, or I suppose specifically kids on the spectrum. To see pure joy on kids' faces is just really something special, and if I can do that or change people's lives in a positive way, I think that that's just really awesome. So my favourite perspective at the moment is the humanistic approach. So as I've been reading literature about the different perspectives, and not that I've read a lot, to be honest, but I've read it enough to have some idea. I like the uniqueness of, I like the way that it places, I get really nervous when I have to record myself, so I might ramble or stuff up. I can't be bothered doing this again, so I'm just kind of have to gather myself. I really like that it focuses on the uniqueness of the individual, and how it essentially, everyone's good, right? Everyone is automatically a good person. I think I resonate with that the most because I instantly assume everyone's good, or I instantly have trust in people unless they've given me a reason not to, right? I believe everyone has the potential to be good. I definitely think people's experiences impact the way that they behave and the way they perceive the world, and then impacts their own perception, right? So say, for example, growing up, my parents had a bad marriage while I was a teenager, and my mum created a toxic codependence between her and I, and she would tell me all these things about my dad that made him a horrible person, or a horrible father, a horrible husband, and that he wouldn't, no matter what he did, nothing was good enough, and that she was never happy and she never felt loved, and all of these things, and that she would create, like, I essentially was a friend to her rather than a daughter, right? And now that I've gotten older, they've gotten a divorce. So throughout that process of being a teenager and shaping my perception of the world and trying to figure out life, and understanding how to understand other individuals, right? I had perceived my father as a specific person, and that, you know, he wasn't really a good dad. He never did this or he never did that. He never took us to sports, you know, blah, blah, blah. He never made time for us. He was always working, whatever. But now that I've grown up, I have lived my life, had my own experiences outside of the, you know, under the roof of my parents, and I've developed my frontal cortex considering I'm 28. And, you know, now that my parents are also divorced, I got to get to know my dad as an individual, as just a person rather than the perspective of a father. And I had to, it was really scary at first, but you know what? The way in which I now perceive my dad is much different to the way my mum taught me to perceive my dad. I always thought that dad was emotionless and this person who was very aloof and had no emotion and couldn't be affectionate and couldn't talk about how he felt about things, right? He was incapable, but that's not true. That's not true at all. And and that's what I love about it's the perspective of the individual. I'm not making a lot of sense, I'm sorry. It's not very coherent. You know what, it's fine. Long story short, I think the way in which you live your life and your I've gone blank. So, I've gone blank, I'm so sorry. So long story short, I think I'm really sorry, but I really don't want to, this is like the 6th time I've recorded this and I don't want to stop. Yeah, the way in which people perceive their own world determines their behavior, right? So I went to summarize. When I thought Dad wasn't a very emotionally supportive person, and when I believed that he couldn't offer any kind of emotional support for me, I didn't have a relationship with him, essentially. I very much did not go to him for anything because what could he possibly provide me? But now that I have a different perspective of my dad, we have a much better relationship, and it's mutual and it's reciprocal, and yeah, it's a really nice relationship. I never thought I'd say that about my dad. So yeah, I think, and it's definitely had a positive impact on the way I live my life, and even just the way I feel about myself and things like that. So yeah, whereas my least favorite perspective is definitely the behaviorist, without a doubt. It's mainly because of its generally unethical way of doing research. It seems quite immoral and unjust in the way researchers will subject animals and humans to experiments that take away their autonomy. I don't love that, because to me, the behaviorist perspective is all about control. How can these researchers, I suppose, control humans? They experiment to find ways. It's like the operant in classical conditioning. That's all about, still about control, right? There's positive punishment and negative punishment. That is still a form of control. So it gives me that really gross, like, injustice. Like, it kind of gives me a sick to my stomach feeling because of, it just seems so immoral and, yeah, unjust. Like, there's, sorry, I just lost my train of thought again, and I'm trying to read my notes. Yeah, that's essentially how I feel about the behaviorist perspective and how I very much don't resonate with it, because it just gives me that icky, gross feeling of when something's very immoral, or it's like when someone, it's like the Stockholm syndrome, that in that video, sorry, not the video, it was a video that we watched in class about Jeannie, I can't remember her last name, sorry, and how she was trapped in that room her whole entire life. Like, behaviorist researchers would want to jump on that and understand it, right? But I just think there's something even still a bit cruel about, learning ways in which to control somebody's behavior. That's kind of just the way I see it, and not great. Thank you for your time, Tony. I appreciate it, and I'm sorry that I rambled on a lot, but without a script, honestly, I'm a bit, I really hope you find this funny, but it's hard for me to stay focused because of my ADHD without a script. I'm really sorry, but I've tried really hard. Thank you.